Let's
Yeah.
talk about your childhood. Where did you grow up at, and what was growing up like for you? Um, where you grew up at?
Okay. So I was born and raised in Newark. Well, born in Newark, raised in a town called Irvington, which is not far from there. Um, as a kid, wrestling was part of all our lives. The only downside was that we didn't know there was any wrestling for us to watch locally. So the only thing we got to see was WWE, well, WBF at the time, and we didn't know about none of the indie scenes that was around there. But unfortunately, in this community, it was a bit rough. We're all hard headed children, but the community had its rough cracks. And at the time, you either could do three things in that neighborhood: play basketball, baseball, and football. I tried football for the first time. I didn't make the team because of the weight limit. But I can definitely say that was like one of the most pivot moments of my life when it comes to growth. Because if you never played football, you don't know what work ethic it takes. You don't know what the condition is. Like doing laps every day, and I was overweight by 30 pounds because back then the weight limit was like 95 pounds or something like that. And that whole summer, I remember wearing a garbage bag every day. Points where I will be running and I feel like I'm about to quit on my own. And I remember the one time we was doing 30-yard sprint drills and I would get tired and tired. And all of a sudden I just let out a battle cry and I started sprinting. And all of a sudden I just started feeling like I can get through it to the point where I couldn't do one push up. And then I was busting out 12. And when it came for the time for the final cut, I didn't make it due to my weight. I only lost 8 pounds.
Mhm.
But all the coaches looked at me saying like, "Yo, I really wish we'd have a weight limit because you are the epiphany of a hard worker. These kids would have learned more from you than they ever learned from us." Because they also saw me being encouraging and supportive when people were slacking or feeling doubt. But uh, enough about that part. I converted to basketball. Played that all my life, and I grew from there. It kept me out from the streets. It kept me out from trouble, even though uh, you'd be surprised where trouble could be at, even in your own home. And I just grind out through college. Simple as that. Still hanging out with certain friends. It's funny. I remember in third grade, somebody said, "What you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a pro wrestler." Didn't even know it was going to be happening. It took a friend to tell me that when I caught up with them in college that I said that. I had no recollection of that. So the fact that when I started wrestling, he said, "See, I told you. I told you was gonna do it." And I was like, "All right, all right, you win, you got it." But yeah, my childhood's just been like just learning curves after learning curves, and then developing as a superstar. Where basketball fell in my was falling off my hands because I played semi-pro basketball for 1 year while I was in college trying to finish up my bachelor's. Took me 10 years to get my bachelor's, and I ran with it, and I didn't think it was gonna happen. But that's overall a short term of my childhood. It's almost straight to the point.